I recently did a poll on YouTube and I asked my audience what part of Facebook ads they struggle with the most. The most common answer was targeting. And that got me thinking, is there one targeting tip or technique that I could give you guys that could make a huge difference to your results? And there is. There's one targeting technique that almost no one uses but can be an absolute game changer. And the really good news is that it's really easy to do. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The easiest way for me to explain this Facebook ads targeting technique is for me to show you first and then explain how and why it works so well. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video for that. Now to show you, I'm going to quickly create a Facebook ad campaign in this example ad account with the standard, boring, normal targeting setup. And then I'm going to create a campaign with a different targeting structure, the targeting structure that I actually recommend. So start by heading into Ads Manager and clicking on this green plus create button. Now you can see I've got the new campaign objective menu here that Facebook's in the process of rolling out as I record this video. You may well have the old one, in which case if you've got the old one, you can go ahead and select conversions. I'm going to click on sales. For the purposes of this video, they're going to work exactly the same. So let's go ahead and click continue. Now, I'm not going to mess with any of the other settings at the campaign level, ad set level, nothing to do with the ads in this video. I want this video very much to be about this one Facebook ads targeting technique that, as I said, can double or more your results. So let's jump over to the ad set level. Then we're going to scroll down and we're going to get down to the audience section. Now, we need an example. So the example I've come up with is a travel-based e-commerce business. So an e-commerce business that sells products within the travel space. You could have neck pillows, you could have, special chargers for phones and all sorts of different things like that, right? We're going to assume we're targeting the UK. Obviously, that would very much apply depending on where you are in your business and all that sort of stuff. That's fine. And for a business like this, we're going to change the age range to make it younger. So let's go with 18 to 35, okay? We're going to go with all genders, and then we're going to get down to the detailed targeting section. We're going to start adding in interests, demographics, and behaviors that are closely related to whatever it is that we're selling. Okay, so the first one we've got is we're going to go ahead and add in travel. Then we're going to click on suggestions, like a lot of people will. And we're going to start adding in things that we think are related to travel. So we're going to add in vacations. We're going to add in adventure travel. We're going to add in frequent international travelers. We might add in holiday. Okay, so we've got one behavior technically within Facebook's targeting system and 4 interests. And people would very often run an ad set like this. This would be the sort of structure. They'd see the results they get. And that's what's standard. That's the normal way of doing things. That's not the way I'd recommend doing it. You'll see why in a minute. If I turn off detailed targeting expansion just quickly, we can see we've got a really large audience here. And just remember that, because that's going to factor into what I talk about later on in this video. So let's say we run this campaign like this with this targeting setup, the 5 different detailed targeting options all in one ad set together, and then we're likely to get results that look something like this. So I've just quickly created a spreadsheet to show you what typical results might be for a campaign like this. Now, because we don't use this campaign structure very often, this targeting structure very often, we don't actually have a real life example to show you. So, but this is very representative of what you are likely to see. So we've got our standard ad set that we just created. Let's assume we've spent $1,000 on this ad set. We generated 45 conversions, 45 sales for a cost per conversion of $22 each. You may be able to produce better results than that. You may be producing worse results than that, but that's not unheard of, those sorts of results. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We'll come back to that in a minute. Now we're going to jump back into Ads Manager and create a much better campaign using a better campaign structure. So just before we create this new campaign, let's scroll up and give this a name. Let's call this standard ad set, and let's jump over to the campaign and call this standard campaign. As we're creating another one, it makes sense to keep things labeled so we know what we're dealing with here. So let's go ahead and create a campaign with a much better targeting setup that's likely to improve your results, and I'll explain why. So let's call this one Better Campaign. Very inventive naming, I know. Then we're going to go over to the ad set level, and we're going to scroll down. We can keep everything else as similar to the other campaigns as possible, right? So we're still going to target the UK. The age range we're going after is 18 to 35, all genders again, and we're going to start by adding in something like travel, okay, as our interest. And once again, let's remove detailed targeting expansion, because that'll come more into it in a minute. So instead of adding in a whole bunch of other detailed targeting options, that's all I'm going to add into this ad set, okay? And we're going to scroll up, and we're going to go ahead and call this travel ad set, right? Minimize this down, and then we've got our travel ad set that's within our better campaign. Go back to the travel ad set, and we are going to duplicate this and make 4 copies into the original campaign, so into the same campaign. And what that'll do, if we minimize this down, is it'll mean that we have, within this better campaign, we now have 5 ad sets. One is a travel ad set, and we're going to sort the others very quickly now and show you exactly what I'm about here. So scroll down to the audience section once again. Let's get rid of travel and add in one of the other detailed targeting options that we're going to use. So this one's going to be vacations, and let's call this one vacations ad set. And then let's jump over to another example. One of the ones was adventure travel, so let's call this adventure travel ad set. We'll scroll down and same. That's one of the advantages of duplicating, by the way, is all the other details stay exactly the same. You don't have to go ahead and add all those in manually, which is just a bit of a time-saving thing. Right, add in adventure travel. Again, just the one, that's it. Then we'll jump to the next one, and I think we had frequent international travelers, something like that. Okay, scroll down. Once again, very important, get rid of travel, go with frequent international travelers. There we go, boom. And then that's our travel ad set. And then this one up here, last but not least, I believe was holiday, something like that. Maybe it's holiday. Yeah, perfect. And then we're going to scroll to the top. I'm going to call this one holiday ad set. And we're going to get rid of that just there. So now you can see the structure really nicely over here on this left-hand side. So we've got the one campaign with 5 different ad sets. Each ad set has one detailed targeting option. Very different to the other campaign, which if I click into and we click edit on here, we see the other campaign had the one campaign, same as before, but the one ad set with 5 different detailed targeting options in it. Now, why would we do that? Okay, now we need to jump over to some more example results to see the difference. So just a quick reminder, our standard campaign produced these results: $1,000 spent, 45 conversions, average cost per conversion of $22. Now, if we jump over to what the better Facebook ad targeting campaign structure would look like with our 5 separate ad sets, this is the sort of thing that you might see. 5 separate ad sets, we spent the same amount in total, so $200 across each ad set, and these are the conversion amounts, okay? What you can see is that even though we spent the same amount, the conversions per ad set varies a lot. Some ad sets performed much better than others. Holiday ad set performed quite poorly, adventure travel performed really well. Again, not uncommon in the slightest. What that means is that your cost per conversion varies massively. You know, we've got one ad set in at $50 cost per conversion, another ad set in at $13 cost per conversion. What you can see here is we've got the same averages, right? We've got the same averages across the whole campaign, but by breaking things out into their component parts, we have much more useful and actionable data that we can use. With this standard campaign, your cost per conversion and the number of conversions generated, that's just a blended average. That's the average you get across the lot because you can't see how the individual elements perform. When you break them out, you get to see exactly how the individual elements perform. And then in this sort of scenario, what we would do is we would, for example, turn off for sure. Let me just demonstrate that with a big red. Turn that one off for sure. We'd probably turn off travel ad set as well. Okay. Maybe this one down here. We might give it a little bit longer, but let's assume we did. Let's assume we turned all 3 of those off. Well, that now leaves you with vacations ad set and venture travel ad set that are producing much, much better results. And the next $1,000 that we spend on this campaign, we're going to see many more conversions and a much better overall cost per conversion because these are actually the best performing ad sets. And that's why this is such a simple targeting tip, such a simple targeting technique, but one that works so well and can really help improve your results. Now, before you go ahead and implement this Facebook ads targeting technique that I've just shown you, I need to warn you about something very, very important. And that's that Facebook is going to try and convince you to not do what I'm recommending. They want you to use the old standard setup where you have the one ad set and you put a whole bunch of targeting options in there together, okay? And I need to explain that because you are very likely to see a warning pop up in your ad account when you use the technique I'm talking about saying don't do this. And I want you to ignore that warning. I'm going to explain why. I think this is really important. So I've got Facebook support documentation up about combining ad sets and campaigns. They are trying to convince you here to run less ad sets and less campaigns, bunch more together. And the reason they're doing that, they give 2 reasons, is They say you are going to spend your budget efficiently and optimize performance. That mainly has to do with a larger audience. We know that Facebook ad campaigns do in general perform better with larger audiences, slightly better improvement in performance. Okay. They also want you to get out of the learning phase as fast as possible. And it's true that if you combine ad sets, let's say you spend $1,000 in the one ad set, well, that ad set is going to get out of the learning phase faster. You're going to generate more conversions than if you have that $1,000 spread over 5 different ad sets. It's going to take those ad sets with the technique, the setup that I'm recommending, longer to get out of the learning phase. So their 2 points here are valid, but it's very much short-term thinking, right? With what Facebook recommends, yes, you might get better results in the first week or two of running a campaign with that structure. But if we jump back to our sheet, what I'm recommending here, you are going to get much better results over the long run. And if you're serious about Facebook and Instagram advertising, that's what matters. Being able to see that even though the average is 22, but actually this targeting option produced a $50 cost per conversion, this targeting option produced a $13 cost per conversion, being able to see that, pause the underperforming targeting options, only target the best performing targeting options, that can make an enormous difference. That is much more important than getting out of the learning phase a little bit faster or having Facebook's delivery system slightly more optimized because the audience size is larger. Okay, I really want to get that across. The reason why Facebook recommends this is because it's going to help improve performance initially, and that's what Facebook really cares about, because they know that when advertisers join the platform and they start advertising, it's important that they get good results early on, because that's going to then encourage them to spend more on the platform, give them proof of concept. I think that most people watching this are beyond trying to work out whether Facebook or Instagram ads can work. They most likely know that, in which case you're better off with the more specificity, the more accurate data, and getting things to work properly. And if we jump back into our ad account, you can see this is backed up by audience sizes, right? So if we click into our standard campaign, well, let's just click edit, and then we go to our ad set level, we can see that our audience size here is 15.2 million to 17.9 million, so really quite large. If we close that down and we go into our better campaign and we take a look at some of these ad sets, see this one's significantly smaller at 2.4 to 2.8 because it's one of the 5 component parts. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see how significantly smaller audience sizes. These aren't too small by any means, but you can see what Facebook are talking about. Okay, so before I tell you about the last thing that you need to do to make this Facebook ads targeting tip work for you, I want to quickly tell you about our Facebook and Instagram advertising services. So my company, Lead Guru, is a specialist Facebook and Instagram ads agency. We create, manage, and optimize campaigns for our clients. And if you want better results from the platform, you want to be able to hand it over to a professional company, that's something that we can do. We do have a $3K per month minimum budget requirement, but if you've got that budget or you're about to have that budget, you can go ahead and book a free call with one of my team members. Just click on the link in the video description below. That'll take you through to a page on our website, and you can go ahead and book in a session directly into the calendar. We can find out more about your business, how you work. You can find out more about our services, what we charge, and how we might be able to help you get significantly better results. Hopefully we get a chance to work together. We can help take your campaigns to the next level. So I just mentioned that there's one more thing that you need to do in order to make sure that this Facebook ads targeting tip will work for your business. And that's to make sure that you aren't making any of these Facebook ad mistakes. These mistakes really can destroy your Facebook advertising results. A lot of them are very easy to avoid, but you need to know what they are in order to avoid them. So go ahead and check that out. I think you'd be glad you did.